In this video, I'm going to discuss how I should have been using Clip Studio Paint years ago. And the reason I wasn't, well, basically, it's all my fault. Let's discuss. What's up, fam? It's your boy DKG72, and I'm back with another video. And yes, this is me admitting I should have been using Clip Studio Paint years ago. So let's rewind the clock. Let's go back about 5 years. Yeah, 5 years now. So 5 years ago, I had pretty much taught myself how to use Adobe Illustrator as a freehand drawing program. That was a little surprising to some of my colleagues because most people did not use Illustrator for freehand drawing. They did not like the program. It was pretty much reviled for that usage. And I get it. Adobe Illustrator by nature is a difficult program to work with. It's not very intuitive on certain levels, and you have to kind of do some gymnastics basically to get it to work for you. For me, I had figured out a way to make it work for me and work pretty effectively on top of that. But at the end of the day, it wasn't the best program. It just was one that worked best for me at the time. Well, so I thought. So fast forward a few months in, and I'm doing a podcast. Shout out to the Old Foresight podcast. Never know, that might come back in some way, shape, or form. We'll see. On one particular show, I had a special guest, a friend of mine, Joe Wills, who was all in on Clip Studio Paint. And he kept telling me, hey, Dave, you need to be all in on Clip Studio Paint also. The problem was I was all in on Adobe Illustrator because I had figured out how to bend it to my will to make it work. So I had basically, I told my man, phooey, and went on with my journey of working with Adobe Illustrator. That turned out to be a big mistake. The reason why it became a big mistake is because over time, I began to grow more and more frustrated with Adobe Illustrator. Remember all those gymnastics I told you that I was willing to work with at the time? Well, yeah, they started getting on my nerves, like really getting on my nerves. Sometimes the program wouldn't work correctly. Sometimes I couldn't get the lines to act the way I wanted to. Again, a very difficult program to work with, especially when you're working with it in a way that it's not native to that program. And while I was making concessions, and I knew I was making concessions, it became harder and harder and harder to keep making those concessions. In fact, I started looking at different options. And one of the fixes that I stumbled upon or came upon was I would use Clip Studio to do my digital pencils because I started experimenting more with Clip Studio and I really started to like the pencils in that program. And for the most part, that really worked. Then I would just take the artwork, transfer it over to Illustrator, and do my digital inks in Illustrator. And because I like the colors in Photoshops, I would just use Photoshop to do the colors. So then I was using Clip, Illustrator, and Photoshop. 3 programs, 1 job. Yeah. I even made a video about it last year, and I kind of knew then I was looking for a way out. I just didn't know what the way out was. Eventually, I started looking for a 1-program solution to my problems, and I began flirting with Adobe Fresco. It had all the things that I wanted. It had freehand lines. You could do a lot of different stuff. You could even do vector lines, and that's important. I really needed the vector lines. I love that look, that crispness of the vector lines. Unfortunately, I found myself dealing with certain issues with Fresco that I had not anticipated. Here's the thing, guys. Fresco's a great program, and if you use Adobe Fresco, keep using it. Especially if you have a tablet like an iPad or a Galaxy tablet, something like that. It's great. My problem was I don't like using those handheld type tablets. Just don't feel comfortable drawing with them. I like drawing with my little combo of a computer or a laptop and a drawing tablet like my XP Pen Artist Pro 19 or a Wacom tablet, something like that. The program itself is not really optimized for use on the desktop. You can use it, but it's not at its best, not like it is when it's on the tablet. So Fresco was out. I had to eliminate Fresco. Okay, y'all, so with Fresco out and me understanding that it wasn't really optimized for my workflow, I found myself right back at Clip Studio. So I decided, you know what? Let's take some time, let's dive in, and let's really learn this program. And what I found out was that the program was a lot easier to learn than I thought. I just had to be more willing to learn from it or learn about it as it was. And I got to shout out my girl, the Starfish Face. Her tutorials really helped me out a lot. And I don't think I would have been able to make this conversion without that. So, again, Starfish Face, love you. Thank you for those tutorials. Go check out the channel. So why Clip Studio Paint? Well, honestly, it is surprisingly easy to use once you get into the program. First of all, just to get started, all you have to do is open up an artboard, pick a pencil, and draw. Honestly, that's really all you need. And then you can kind of pick up things along the way as you go. I think the problem is that we always want to just learn or just automatically know how to use a program all at once. That's not realistic. If you just take your time, pick things up as you go. There's plenty of tutorials on YouTube. There's plenty of tutorials. Hey, hell, Clip Studio has plenty of tutorials. They have tutorials. You can learn at your own pace. It's easy to learn. Once you kind of figure things out, you can figure out a workflow that really works best for you. One of the other things, well, the main reason why I was able to switch is because they got vector lines. And what I learned was that their vector lines are way easier to use. Well, they're optimized for use on my type of setup. So I could create the vector lines for my program, for my artwork, and I could do all the things that you do with vector lines, including manipulating anchor points, manipulating widths, however you want to. All of those things are possible within Clip Studio. You just had to figure out where it was. And once I found out where it was on and popping. And let's just be honest, Clip Studio Paint is optimized for us. It's literally made for artists. You can do comics, you can do general illustrations. I'm doing my video comics in there. You can do animation. Everything is optimized for artists. The pens, the brushes, everything. You can do paintings, everything in that program. And it's strictly for art, not editing photos, not 3D lettering and all that type of stuff. Art, creation of comics, comic art, any kind of art, illustrations, anything you can think of, storybooks, everything's in there. They even have a option where you can bind your books together so you can even see how your book is going to look when you get ready to print. Come on, man. That's dope. And then one of the other things that I really like about Clip Studio that I didn't like about programs like Fresco and even Illustrator or Photoshop, their time lapse just works. I can just set it and forget it, and it will do a time lapse of any artwork, any program, project. I keep saying program when I mean project. Any project that I'm working on. That is invaluable to me. So now I don't have to try to go to another program, use OBS or something like that. I simply have to just open up my artboard because I've already selected to do time lapses, and I've selected what kind of time lapses I wanted already, and it puts them out perfectly. And then it just saves the time lapse, and then all I have to do is just go to export time lapse, and it just exports it right out. Never have to worry. So with that being said, just the time lapses alone makes this a worthwhile program. And honestly, at the end of the day, the program's just more affordable. Just being honest, just more affordable. It's not as heavy as the Creative Cloud. It's perfectly optimized for artists, and honestly, I would say about a good 80% of all digital artists can afford to get this program and get started. Some still may have to use the free versions or free programs like Krita, but just getting on the monthly plan, the $10 a month, I think that's a great idea, and any artist should do that. So highly affordable, way more affordable than the $60 or $70 I pay for the Creative Cloud. Oy vey. But worth it, very much worth it. Speaking of the Creative Cloud, I'm still using most of the programs from the Creative Cloud. Can't get away from them just yet. Why is that? Well, because now I use Clip Studio for strictly art creation. It frees them up for their true purpose in my life. Use Photoshop for organizing and setting up projects so that they can go to print, things like that. Adobe Illustrator is for lettering and creating logos because that's what it's there for. And it's dope. It's easy to use at that point. I don't have to fight with anything. Everything works exactly as it should. And then obviously you have programs like Lightroom that are used just to touch up photos and stuff like that. So now it puts everything in its place. But, there's a but. That Affinity Suite is looking pretty good right now. And I've switched over to DaVinci Resolve as my editing program. And I am very happy, even though it's the free version. So it's not fully optimized, but good Lord, the things you get. So, Creative Cloud isn't in the clear just yet. So there you have it, folks. That's the reason why I should have switched to Clip Studio Paint years ago. And I have my friend Joe Wills to thank for putting the bug in my ear that finally made it to my brain and finally got me to switch over. So to my man Joe, salute. For the rest of you guys, hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and share this video all over the interwebs. It's your boy DKG72. I'll be back with a new one soon. Peace.